Hear us say, let them land, let them stay. Abbott, Morrison, hear us say. Let them land, let them stay. Abbott, Morrison, hear us say. Let them land, let them stay. Okay, thanks everyone. I've got a few little hellos to say before we kick off with the next speaker. First, it's to Latifa and Nizza, who just had the baby in Brisbane. I told them that I'd let everybody here know that they represent the people who are on Nauru, and you can think about them as we stand here in the sun outside Parliament House, and on Nauru at the moment it's probably about double this temperature, about 40 degrees, at a place where you have to walk about 10 minutes before you can even see a trickle of running water, where someone turns the showers on for 4 or 5 minutes and then turns them off, and you have to be finished showering in that kind of time, where there are no education facilities in the camp, where there's no place to look after young children, where you stand for an hour in temperatures much hotter than this to have meals, and you can't take meals away back to the kids in the tent. If you're not in the queue, there's no food. That's what Nauru represents, and that's why it's not just women and children and families that need to come off Nauru. Everyone has to come off Nauru. Nauru must be closed. So it's greetings to Latifa and Nizza and baby Feroz. I also want to give a big yell out to Majid and the other people who have wrongly been found guilty and are in prison for setting a fire in Villawood. If ever there is an abomination in Australia, it has been the detention centres, and there will come a time when we will welcome the destruction of those detention centres, and it will be us who will tear them down. So they need to know that we're thinking of them and they're not forgotten in spite of the fact they've been put in prison. To the people who are incarcerated on Nauru, wrongly charged with the riot of July 19. Everybody hoped on July 19 the fire there was going to be the end of the detention centre. 80 people still remain that have been faced those kinds of charges, and today their trials have been put off even further, to next year. There will be no justice on Nauru. The only way they are going to get justice is if they, along with everyone else, is actually brought to Australia. To the West Papuans, to the 7 West Papuans who came here seeking Australia's help and protection and were ruthlessly returned overnight to Papua New Guinea, knowing that Papua New Guinea was going to do nothing in terms of their asylum claims. They need to know that in spite of the fact they're in the far west flung province of Papua New Guinea, there is a movement in Australia that cares about it and is not going to let them be forgotten. To the around 300 Tamil asylum seekers who are now in prison in Negombo because they were returned not just by the Abbott government but because they were returned by a Rudd government and by a Gillard government before that. They remain a testament to the shameful collaboration between the Australian government and a ruthless dictator Rajapaksa, and even a Conservative Prime Minister like Cameron from the United Kingdom could find some shred of decency to mention the issue of the Tamils. And what did Tony Abbott do? He expressed his understanding of why Rajapaksa perhaps has tortured people in the past and will torture people again. That is not our understanding. It will never be our understanding. And I just want to read out a little letter now that's come from people inside Villawood, and we'll get on with the speaking platform. Okay, we asked some of the people inside Villawood to write letters about what they would say if they had the chance to say it. I'll just read the first one out. I'm not afraid of death, but I am afraid that even in that world, the head of DIAC or Serco officers will shadow me and say, you don't have a visa to be in Australia. And the officers will carry my corpse to a separate grave and name it detention camp. I plead for you not to do this. My will is for my corpse to be thrown into the ocean so that the waves can sweep me to a country where a visa isn't required for dying. While writing this, I could hear the sound of crying through the walls. What hearts of stone Serco officers have, laughing and saying, go to hell. They are not sentiments that we support. And the pleas that come from inside Villawood are pleas that we heard many, many years ago. And we're here to make sure that the kind of desperation expressed in that letter never gets a chance to play itself out. We're here to make sure that Tony Abbott has gone well before the next 3 years, and that in that time it'll be our hands through the razor wire into the detention centres to pull those people who shouldn't be there to freedom.